Welcome to our messages here from St. Peter's in Edina. In 2021, we are making use of Bible gems to remember. A Bible gem is a simple biblical phrase, 5 words or less, that you can use to remember a particular thought for the whole week. There'll be 52 of them during the course of the year, one for each week. And the idea behind them is to perhaps memorize them and think about them and talk about them and pray about them and, of course, live them. We'd love to make one of these Bible gems to remember illustrated Bibles available to you. You can request it and we'll provide that for you. You do that by simply sending an email to stpkids@stpetersedina.org, and we'll be sure to get you one of these Bibles so that your family can participate in it all year long. We also want to thank you for your ongoing support that you've provided. Last summer, we made some ministry adjustments, or as we called them, our reset, because we knew the events of normal church life weren't going to continue, and that has proven effective. And so many of you have gone out of your way to be supportive, and we appreciate that. Down at the bottom, you can always find opportunities for giving in various ways, and just want to tell you the incredible ministry that continues to go on in spite of the pandemic, and the many ways we're meeting needs of individuals, especially our family care ministry over the holidays was a true blessing to so many, and you make that possible. So thank you, and enjoy our time together as we grow in the Word. Today, our Bible gem is honor your father and mother.
Stories of the Bible. Jesus, the Son. This is Jesus.
Heyo!
Jesus is the Son of God and the Savior of the world. Jesus was born in Bethlehem in a barn because there was no room in the inn for him. After Jesus was born, his mother, Mary, and her husband, Joseph, took Jesus to the temple in Jerusalem. There was a man named Simeon who loved God. God has told Simeon that he would meet the Savior before he died. When Mary and Joseph arrived at the temple, Simeon was there.
Oh my!
When Simeon saw Jesus, he took him in his arms and blessed him.
Thank you.
He knew that this was the promised child who would save them all.
It's true.
Mary and Joseph were amazed at his words. There was also a woman named Anna in the temple. When she saw the baby that Simeon was holding and heard all that he had said, she gave thanks to God and told everyone that the Savior had come.
Yeah!
When everything had been done as God commanded, Mary and Joseph went home to Nazareth. Jesus grew up. He became strong and filled with wisdom, and the favor of God was upon him. Every year, Jesus' parents traveled to Jerusalem for a festival. When Jesus was 12,
Come on!
they went just like every other year. But when the festival was over and Mary and Joseph were traveling back home,
Jesus? Jesus! Do you know? Nope. Uh-oh.
they realized that Jesus was not with them.
Uh-oh.
Come on!
So they returned to Jerusalem to look for him.
His name is Jesus.
I haven't seen him.
They searched everywhere.
Jesus! Not Jesus.
Jesus.
Jesus!
After 3 days, they found him in the temple. Jesus was sitting among the religious teachers, listening to them and asking them questions.
Jesus!
Hey, Mom.
When Mary and Joseph found him, they said, "Why have you done this? We've been searching for you everywhere." But Jesus said, "Why did you look for me? Didn't you know I would be here in my Father's house?"
Huh?
But his parents didn't understand what he meant. So Jesus left with them
See you later.
Bye, Jesus.
and came back to Nazareth, where he obeyed them.
Hey.
Here you go.
And he continued to grow in wisdom and favor with God and man.
What do you want to be when you grow up? Ask that question and watch the excitement as boys and girls talk over each other to answer. Lots of kids dream about what they want to be when they grow up. I'm going to be a hockey player, or I want to be a singer, or a doctor, or a police officer. And of course, the most popular answer today, I'm going to be an avenger. I'm curious what Jesus would have said if a family member asked him what he wanted to be when he grew up. I'm going to be something really important. Oh, that's great, Jesus. What sort of job do you want to have? Are you going to be a carpenter like your father? No, I was sent to do what my Father wants me to do. Oh, that's terrific, Jesus. What does your Father want you to be? He sent me to be the Savior of all. That's what we see in our Bible reading today. The Gospels fast forward through life after Jesus' birth. I'm always amazed at the repeated phrase in the Gospel. Mary treasured up all these things in her heart. She did that when the angel announced his birth, and she treasured when Jesus was presented in the temple as a baby. They were in the temple, and the prophet Anna, a woman of prayer, after Jesus' circumcision, spoke to others, anybody around, about the child. Spoke that to all who were looking forward to the redemption of Jerusalem. And today, we see her astonished as the boy Jesus goes missing. We pick up on him as a preteen. Jesus was in the courtyard of the temple. Every year, Jesus' parents went to Jerusalem for the festival of the Passover. When he was 12 years old, they went up to the festival according to the custom. After the festival was over, while his parents were returning home, the boy Jesus stayed behind in Jerusalem, but they were unaware of it. Thinking he was in their company, they traveled on for a day. Then they began looking for him among their relatives and friends. When they did not find him, they went back to Jerusalem to look for him. After 3 days, they found him in the temple courts, sitting among the teachers, listening to them and asking them questions. Mary and Joseph were faithful to all that God had told them about Jesus, yet they still had a hard time processing what it all meant. And who could blame them? There is no one in the world like Jesus. How could this boy be more than just their son? How could he be the one who was come to fulfill all the prophecies that had been spoken in the Old Testament of God's answer to salvation for all people? How indeed. Christmas is the proclamation that God became man so that mankind could be reconciled to God again. Mary and Joseph would be continuously astonished, sometimes shocked, but always pondering, wondering what he was all about. Let's keep reading. Everyone who heard him there in the temple was amazed at his understanding and his answers. When his parents saw him, they were astonished. His mother said to him, "Son, why have you treated us like this? Your father and I have been anxiously searching for you." "Why were you searching for me?" he asked. "Didn't you know I had to be in my father's house?" But they did not understand what he was saying to them. Then he went down to Nazareth with them and was obedient to them. But his mother treasured all these things in her heart. And Jesus grew in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and man. This event at Passover in Jerusalem was one of those moments when they saw the 12-year-old Jesus give them a little glimpse of what was to come. His knowledge of the things of God was way beyond his years, but his relationship to God the Father was already one of intimacy and obedience. And then there's Mary and Mary's ponderings. Mary's ponderings would include days like this one, where it says they were astonished. In the end, she would ponder the moment at the foot of the cross, seeing her son literally die for the work that he had come to do. If there's a message for today, it's this. With an astonishment, treasure all these things in your heart. Make sure that you get to know Jesus. Why? Because he'll not only astonish you, he can save you. And be careful not to overlook him, because in the world, there's no one like him for you. Do you ever think about what you want your life to be when you grow up? Or if you're an adult, as you enter the next phase of your life? Joanne and I have entered that next phase of our lives, and if you've watched some of these, you've kind of kept up with us. We're in the empty nester, moved into a smaller townhome, have time to travel when we can, and generally, we've reset our priorities for the next chapter of our lives together. And we think about what will happen later in life. Wouldn't it be great if we, and you too, in your life could be filled with good things like love and joy and peace, and have none of the bad things like problems and worries and trouble? But that's not really possible, because ever since Adam and Eve disobeyed God, the world has been an imperfect place to live. But it is possible to have more goodness in your life. Jesus did come to forgive you, to change your future trajectory. But where does that begin? Our Bible gem today is honor your father and mother. The key to your life going well is to start it right when you're young by honoring your mom and dad. Honor your father and your mother is one of the 10 commandments. And keep in mind that includes anyone who's in charge of caring for you, such as teachers and bosses and leaders. This rule is so important because, after all, God gave your parents the job of raising you, and they do so much for you. They're not perfect. No one in authority in this world is perfect, but they deserve your honor and respect. And the biggest reason to honor your parents, to honor those in authority, is that God says it's right. And that's what we see here in Colossians chapter 3. Children, obey your parents in everything, for this pleases the Lord. So does that mean that honoring your parents is what God expects us to do? It sure is. It's all about showing your mom and dad that you love and respect and value and appreciate them. And this involves the way that you think about your parents and how you treat them and how you talk about them when they're not around. Doing what your mom and dad tell you to do promptly and cheerfully and without complaining shows that you recognize the authority God gave them over you. And in God's eyes, when you obey your mother and father, you're obeying Him. And God likes that. Another big part of honoring your parents is talking to them respectfully, even when you don't agree with your mom or dad. And depending on your age, that could be frequently. You're still to speak to them in an appropriate way. And it's not just the words that you say, it's also your tone of voice, the expression on your face, and your body language. Submitting to your parents is vital too. When your mother or father make a decision, whether it's about a family rule or some request you've made, God requires you to abide by it. It's okay to discuss things respectfully, but when your parents call an end to the discussion, accept their final answer, even if you don't like it. And finally, you honor your mom and dad by listening to their advice. Pay attention to what it is that your parents are teaching you, and then put that into practice. This is one of the ways God gives you wisdom to make good choices through your parents. And wise choices will definitely help your life go well. Let me share another verse to you from the letter to the Ephesians, chapter 6. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and mother, which is the first commandment, with a promise, so that it may go well with you and that you may enjoy long life on the earth. The first command with a promise, so that it may go well with you. And adults, this commandment includes anyone in authority, anyone with authority, even co-workers. Are you ready for things to go right? Do you want it to go well with you? Honor those in authority, God's representatives. Honor your father and mother, a commandment, one of the 10 commandments. And let me just read from the meaning of that. What does this mean? We should fear and love God so that we do not despise or anger our parents and other authorities, but honor them, serve and obey them, love and cherish them. I want to share one more biblical reference with you, and this comes from Titus chapter 3. Remind the people to be subject to rulers and authorities, to be obedient, to be ready to do whatever is good, to slander no one, to be peaceable and considerate, and always to be gentle toward everyone. When Mary and Joseph finally found Jesus, Mary said, "Son, why did you leave us? We were very worried." And respectfully, Jesus said, "I had to be here in my Father's house. Didn't you know that?" And Mary looked at Joseph. And they were relieved and happy to find Jesus. They told him it was time to go home, and Jesus obeyed and said goodbye to the teachers there in the temple. And after that, Jesus went home with his parents. He was a good son who always honored his father and mother and listened to them. This pleased God, his Father in heaven. Our Bible gem this week: honor your father and mother.